Scott Satterfield press conference. Coach will start us off with a quick opening statement. Please raise your hands for questions. We will use the microphones. Coach?
Yep. Good afternoon. Yeah, just going back to Saturday in Oxford. Obviously, I thought it was a huge win for us. One that we had, circled on our calendar really the whole season, whole off season, and our guys did an outstanding job. Coaches and players and everybody involved in our program. There was a great energy there. Felt like we had a ton of Bearcat fans in the stands there cheering us on. So love that, and then just going out and executing the way we did. I thought it was a complete team win, special teams, offense, and defense. Defensively, we held them to 24 yards rushing, which is apparently that's the best, or at least we've given up since 2020, according to Zach. So that's great. Obviously, need to limit the big plays. I think that's the big thing defensively is the big plays. They kind of bit us at Pittsburgh that game, and then obviously in the Miami game as well. Offensively, I thought we were still an efficient team. Offensively, did some good things. They did a good job of limiting us in our big plays, but still we had enough to be able to get the win offensively. And then obviously special teams. I thought we covered great, setting ourselves up for great field position, and obviously knocking down the two big field goals. Hawks, that was huge as well. So we're really happy about the win, but we're moving on to Houston. It's Willie Fritz is an outstanding football coach. I mean, I didn't realize he's been a head coach. This is his 32nd year as a head coach. That's a lot of years being a head coach. He's been successful everywhere he's ever been. His teams always are in the game. They play hard. They're coached well. They're where they're supposed to be. He's done an outstanding job. This team defensively is one of the better defenses in the country. Top 15 in a lot of categories. For the first year, Shieldwood's done a great job with their defense. Offensively, statistically not as good, but they can run the football. They got a lot of speed outside at wide receiver. Quarterbacks played a lot of ball. He's a really big guy. We know he can run. He's got a big-time arm as well. So, we know. And then the return game, man, it really stands out. You look at the punt returner, kick returner, they have a really good return game in the special team. So, a great challenge this week against Houston coming in, Big 12 opener. We're excited about it, and need to field Nipper and then have everybody there and cheering us on, man. It's a big-time game, obviously, for the Big 12.
Chad.
How difficult was that decision at place kicker? Because Carter had a great year last year, a little bit of a bump this year, but how difficult was that, and how did everybody handle kind of making the switch there?
Yeah, I mean, it's never easy to make a change, particularly when someone's been at that position for a while. And Carter, had a great season last year. Kicked this all season. Had some injuries during camp. It's where I think Nathan really started to show. Because Carter wasn't out there, so Nathan's kicking a lot and doing a really nice job. And then, of course, Carter comes back. And he's been good. And so it's tough to make the change. I mean, obviously, the easy thing to do is just say, Carter, keep doing, we'll work you out of the slump. But I mean, we felt like, in this game against Miami, we're going to need to make some field goals. Looking back at last year, we knew they were stingy defense in the red zone, so we're going to have to make some field goals. And so, let's see what he can do. And he did a great job. Obviously, I didn't know the first kick would have to be a 55-yarder. I mean, that's a little tough to have your first one there, but he nailed it right down the middle. I think that certainly relaxed him, and he felt great after that. And then, people don't talk about the second one as much, but that was a huge kick. I mean, it's an 8-point game. We missed that right there. Now they got an opportunity to go tie the ball game up, and then now making that obviously made it a two score. So a huge kick to be able to knock that down, and he's kicking with great confidence right now. We all know as a kicker, I mean, that's what it takes.
You got big plays from Joe Royer and Evan Pryor in the game, and some of them counted. Are you getting what you expected out of those guys when they were big transfers, and have they delivered in the way you thought that they would?
I mean, they have. We feel we've been talking about Joe a lot. We think he's one of the better tight ends out there. With his size and speed and catching ability, and also can block. So defenses, they know where he's at. They're going to have to know where he's at. He also helps free up a few of the wideouts as well. So I think he's added a ton to our offense. Pryor's been a great, kind of that 1-2, that 2 punch, outside of Corey. He's got the speed. The two touchdowns over 60 yards now in 3 games, and that's incredible. So, and I think that is where he excels, is when he gets an opportunity out on the perimeter to be able to run by people, that's when he's really good. We haven't seen it yet, but he does have excellent hands. I think he's a good receiver out of the backfield. We have not thrown it to him in that regard, but I think he can add to that as well. But they're both are outstanding players for us.
You kind of mentioned the decision to kick the 50-yarder at the end. That's obviously a really gutsy decision. What gave you so much confidence that he was going to be able to do it? And was there any thought to just, let's punt, make them drive the whole length of the field there?
Yeah, we had three things we could have done. You can go for it. It's 4th and 3, which is actually the analytics said go for it. You can kick it and try to go up 2 possessions, or you can punt and pin them down. So going back to the Pitt game, we punted, tried to pin them down, didn't work. So I was like, well, that's out. All right. So then it came down to, do we go for it or kick the field goal? I felt confident about it because he had nailed the 55-yarder from almost the identical spot. You had the wind going that way. And I really felt like, man, let's get this thing. If we make this right here, we're up 2 scores and we're going to be in great shape. And, and then Corey's run actually helped the decision too, because he ends up bouncing it back to the middle of the field on that particular run. We're on the right hash. And then, I felt good about it. But there's a lot of things that go wrong with that. They blocked a field goal last year, as we recall, and that kind of crossed my mind too, because if they do block it now, they got an opportunity to be real close to go get a touchdown. So, it was a gutsy call there, but I felt Hawks had good confidence, man. With the win, let's go ahead and get it. And obviously he nailed it. It was a great kick.
You talk about defending the nip a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Have you talked about that you guys last year didn't win a home game in Big 12 play, and how important is it this year to get that first Big 12 win at Nipper Stadium and defending the nip on Saturday in your first Big 12 game this year?
No, we hadn't talked about last year. And, our whole deal this year is just moving forward, talking about taking care of our home field. And, and obviously it's a big game for us. It's the first Big 12 game. We're playing a team that Cincinnati's played in the past out of Houston. And so for us, first Big 12 game, it's a huge game. A huge game. And playing a team like Houston that's, playing, I think, really good football, had an opportunity to beat Oklahoma, 2 weeks ago. So we obviously, this is huge for us, and all our focus and attention is everything is on Houston right now.
I asked you going into camp about the freshmen and their ability to impact this roster. Great note from Zach Stipe. 7 freshmen have combined for more snaps this year than you had the past 2 years here combined. Are they even farther ahead, and we thought they had a chance to make an impact?
Well, we felt good about them, and when we signed this class, we knew it was going to be a special class. And I think 10 came in January, the rest came this summer. But as the camp went along, there were a few guys we felt like, okay, they're going to play right now, and then as we've gone throughout these weeks, you get a couple injuries here or there, and these guys were kind of right there on the cusp, and you start inserting them, they start making plays. And I think they're going to continue to play more and more. So they've had a huge impact on this program, and they will for years to come, because I think they're number one, they're great people. They have great character. Most all these freshmen, and they're also really good players. I think they're going to continue to get better and better and better as we go throughout this season. And there'll be some guys that will make some big time plays for us as we head throughout the year.
Donovan Smith is a huge dude and gets a big head of steam. Who plays that part on the scout team? Because you've got a lot of quarterbacks, but none quite that size.
We don't have anybody that, unless we take one of our defensive ends to play quarterback.
Probably
That's about
so.
how big he is. He's having played him last year. You look across the field, you're like, my gosh, I didn't know he's that big. But he is. 6'4", close to 240. Looks like a big tight end or a big defensive end that can run. He had a couple big runs in the game this past week that they played in, and we know what he can do with his legs. He's also had, in his past, he's had some great throwing games. Over 300-yard passing games, and he can affect a game. There's no question about it. I think, I also think they have a lot of speed. I think from their running back position and also in the wide receiver room, they have a lot of speed there that can really get some big plays. And that's where we got to be good, is to limit those big plays and try to make them try to drive the football.
Drogosh could do it.
Potentially, yeah.
Kind of going off Chad's question about the freshmen, but you dealt with the redshirts last year, especially with Barry Jackson, and now you have, I think you had 16 tackles by true freshmen against Miami. How different could it look this week into week 5? But, especially with guys like Simeon Coleman, Marquavius Sabor, and Sanks, who are basically contributing at a consistent rate.
Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe, as we see these guys move forward, their roles are going to increase. I think some started the season where it's getting, 5 snaps or 15 snaps, and I think they're starting to get a little bit more to 20s and maybe even into 30s. I mean, Parker's a great example where he didn't play hardly any at the beginning of the season, and I think Saturday had some impact plays, for us, and I think he'll continue to get more and more, particularly as you look at D-line where we've gotten dinged up a little bit down there. I think Simeon, had 4 tackles in the game and played, about 28 to 30 snaps. I mean, so that's a lot of production in that small number of plays. I just think you're going to see more and more of these guys really come to the forefront and start making more plays, and more opportunity. I think was probably the big thing.
Coach, you guys had a lot of success in the run game versus Houston last year, 240 yards on the ground. Offensive line loses a guy like D'Artagnan Tinsley on Saturday. Do you just have an update on him heading into Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, we're still, surveying and seeing where we're at with him. I think, the good news is we've played, several guys up front that we felt pretty good about our depth coming in. Phil will be back this week, so he'll be practicing today. So he's been out, how long? He's been out 2 or 3 weeks, maybe. I can't remember. Really 3 games, hasn't he? I mean, hadn't played at all. So he'll be back this week. So that's good. We felt like he was going to be a guy who's potentially going to be starting at the beginning of the season. So to get him back, we'll see with DT. I think, we'll try to find whoever the most healthiest and put the best 5 out there in whatever positions they may have to play.
3rd straight week that you guys are kicking off at noon. Do you, just out of curiosity, do you like certain kickoff times better than others? Does your team feel the same way?
I don't know about the team. I personally love it at noon. There's nothing better than playing at noon and getting a win and just sitting, putting your feet up and relaxing and watching college football. You don't care who wins after that. One of the negatives of playing late games is the fact that, man, as soon as you play your game, like, and you go home, you got to go to bed, you got to get up and go again. You don't have any time to relax, decompress at all, because you're also locked in, every day of the week. So I do like to have the fact that you play early and now you at least get a few hours to relax on Saturday afternoon.
Any other questions for Scott?
Just basic difference between Willie Fritz and Dana Holgerson coach team, other than Willie's a tad older.
I don't know the differences between the two. I've never worked with either. I do know, Willie's does a great job wherever he's been a head coach. They've always won. He always gives his teams chances to win. I've known people that have worked for him. People like working for him. He treats people really good. It's a good, good culture in the building. Just a lot of respect for him, and everywhere he's been successful.
Looking back at the first 2 games, the run defense had some spaces that guys were able to run to. How much improvement did you feel like you saw against Miami in closing down those running lanes, guys being in the right gaps?
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like the execution looked a lot better.
It did. I thought we got better push too off the edges and up front. When they did try to run the football, we were right in the backfield right there. I thought our safeties did a better job of coming down, fitting the run, where we didn't against Pitt. There were several times, several different safeties that came down and we didn't make the tackle. We actually came down and fit it like we were supposed to and made the tackle this week. They had 24 yards, and I even think probably 12 of those yards was the last drive. So really the whole game, we pretty much shut the running game down. And, and they didn't really try to run the football. They were more trying to throw it. Gabbard's such a great passer, but we did fit the run better. Our guys, came to the ball better. I thought we tackled better. I think for those reasons, obviously we held them under rushing. Now this will be a bigger challenge. I think this team here is going to be able to try to run the football. Also, having to stop the Q runs is a different animal as well. They weren't going to run Q runs with Gabbard. So this is a little bit different animal here that we got to stop this week with the speed that they have at running back and the size and speed they have at quarterback. This will be a bigger challenge. Hopefully we'll continue to get better at that as we play this week.
Reagan?
You've talked about trying to establish the identity of your offense here. How big has Corey Kiner been for you, especially in the backfield, trying to establish, what this offensive unit can be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we say this every week. He's such a beast running the football. I mean, one of the greatest plays that we had the whole day Saturday was on the 3rd and 2 or 3, when he hits number 15, which he's a heck of a football player, and basically just ran him over and rushed for about 40 yards and really set us up for field goal that last drive. What an incredible play. You know, they stop us right there. We got a punt. I mean, they got plenty of time to go score. That was an unbelievable play by Corey. But I feel like he does it each week in and week out, you know, and I feel like first 3 games we come to halftime, we don't have many rushing yards, and you kind of wear the defense down, and all of a sudden in the second half, it's go time for him. I think that's when he's his best, is when he does get those carries up toward the 20 carry mark. Defenses are starting to get wear down a little bit, and that's when it's go time for him. You know, he's a very, very solid running back. He's done a great job for our offense. You know, him being able to run the football certainly should help and open up more passing lanes. And I think it has in the first 3 weeks. You know, and we'll continue to ride Corey. I mean, he's a stud.
With it being the start of Big 12 play, is your message to the team any different? Do you notice anything different with the temperature of the team, the intensity of it?
No, I think our leadership, you know, they were celebrating big time after the Miami win for sure. But yesterday, and I mean Sunday when we came back, man, it's all business. It's all about Houston. It's you know, going out and having a great focus and being intentional in every one of our meetings and every one of our practices. You know, we're not coming just to a Tuesday practice this afternoon. I mean, it's Houston. It's Big 12 week practice on a Tuesday. You know, how intense can we be this today? And I think the leadership as a team has really brought that to the forefront. You know, and I think, you know, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to go to practice this afternoon, watch these guys. You know, Tuesday's always a little bit rough because you're implementing the game plan for the first time. But these guys will be ready to go and excited about getting on the practice field.
You might not like dealing in hypotheticals, but say Phil is back and DT doesn't play. Should we expect to see Harder at guard, or could there be some shuffling with possibly DeAndre Buford?
Yeah, you know, Harder did a great job filling in when DT went out. I think Harder's had I thought a really good offseason, spring practice and fall camp. You know, so if Harder, you know, I would suspect Harder will play anyway this game. There potentially could be some shuffling. You know, Buford's played guard and tackle; he can play both. You know, it feels available and able to come back, you know. I mean, so that there's a chance or opportunity there to where we can move some guys around. I do think when you go into the game, let's try to find our 5 best that you want to try out there first, and then obviously be able to rotate a couple of guys in, you know, within that positions, guard or tackle. And I think I think today's practice and Wednesday's practice will tell us a lot and figure out what the best 5 may be.
And then to start the game, Brennan had some missed throws that we just kind of haven't seen through the first 2 games before Miami. What did you kind of accredit that to? Was that just him missing it? Was it lack of depth in routes kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, we're pretty efficient on the first and second down stuff. I think third downs we were a little bit off. You know, they played a lot more man, a little bit more different defense than what they had shown on film. I think was a little bit had to do with that. You know, I think a little bit of the rush there got to him a little bit as well, and you know, kind of threw his timing off a little bit. When you do that, then sometimes the ball's not as accurate. You know, but I still think he played a solid football game of what we're asking him to do. You know, we'd love to have the 80-yard touchdown pass back to Royer. You know, if we get that, I mean, now the stat line looks a lot different, and Royer's looks a lot different too. I mean, 3 catches for 27 yards? I think he had. If you look at the game, it was a lot more impactful than 3 catches, 27 yards. You know, so. But I think you know, Brendan was obviously, I think, solid. But I do think now, hey, we're in the Big 12 play. You know, there's going to have to be some great quarterback play as we move through this conference.
I don't want to cost you $5,000, but how far downfield was Gerhardt?
Yeah, I mean, they say they give you 3 yards, and he was around the 3-yard mark. You know, and I do think it's a judgment call. You know, is it sometimes? I mean, I've seen guys where people run RPOs, guys are 6 or 7 yards down the field, nobody calls anything. I've seen guys when they're right around the 3 and they call it. I mean, it's just a judgment call. It's like, you know, it's not like offsides or, you know, a false start. You know, these judgment calls are a little bit in the gray area. Same thing with PI. You know, you get the DPI. You know, we had one called, and then there was another flag on another one there on the 4th down, and then they ended up picking it up. So there's so much gray area in that. And also, while we're on this subject, I think targeting is the same thing. You know, I go home and watch that Saturday night, and you see guys get called for targeting, and then they wave it off. I mean, does anybody know what really targeting is? I don't think they do. I mean, I hear the announcers say, "Oh, that was 100% targeting right there," and then they wave it off, and like, "Oh, wow, that wasn't targeting." And then they call it again. Well, I don't even know if that was targeting. Yep, it was. Nobody knows. So these gray areas, I think they're difficult to defend, and particularly targeting. They even go to the replay, and you don't know if it's targeted or not. So some of that stuff obviously we need to continue to work on and try to get some of it cleaned up.
Brendan seems like a guy that when he gets in a rhythm can really get hot. As a play caller, is that something you're cognizant of, okay, I think he's in the zone right now, let's ride him a little bit?
Yeah, I think so, and a lot of that depends on who you're playing that day and what are they trying to take away and how are they lining up. And if, like, to your point, if the quarterback is really seeing it, yeah, you want to let's keep feeding it, keep feeding it and keep giving him opportunities to make plays. Because there's going to be other games where, man, maybe not seeing it as good, and maybe you got to do some things different. But absolutely, man, if you get a quarterback that's feeling it, let's let him continue to do that and distribute the ball.
Coach, walk us through after watching the replay of the play before Joe, right before the half there. What was the message after the game? Are you upset that he went all out there, that the fumble there, or how do you approach that as a coach?
No, I mean, first of all, I just told him to keep playing his butt off because he broke about 3 or 4 tackles right there. But we never should reach. There's 3 times you should reach for the goal line: end of half, last play, end of game, or 4th down. And there was time left on the clock right before the half. He's fighting to get yards, and you never should reach the ball out. He reaches it out. I mean, it's so close. It is short, unfortunately, but it was so close. In fact, the referee called it a touchdown. And then you go back and read it out. Actually, during the play, I was talking to our guys upstairs, and they were like, "It's out." And unfortunate, but man, I love the passion and the effort that he played with. I'll take that all day long. Sometimes you may lose the ball. We don't like it, but I love the passion and effort. I think you're going to get a lot more positive plays than negative plays with Joe Royer.
Any other questions for Coach? Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Coach.